there'll be like 3, 4 hours of a night where I was completely there, like hanging out with everybody, having a good time, and I'll wake up the next day and have like no memory of what we did. Like I know like we were in the house and that like things like music was on and that we were singing,
Uh-huh.
but like that's it. And then I'll see like videos of me like rapping like a whole Murphy Lee song.
And welcome back. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience. Together we are on a mission of dynasty domination. One day dream at a time. See, I'm nailing it, guys. I'm going to
It's
keep
getting
trying
good.
this until it gets perfect.
It's
I'm
getting
here with the
there.
gurus, Daniel Darther, Captain Christian G. Love. How we doing, boys?
Oh man, the mood in the room is electric, boys. We are ready to get to the next round of
Round of
32.
32.
We've eliminated some number of players, and now
Hmm.
we're ready to have the whole collection again. So tonight we will do that by going through the orange bracket, man, round of
Yeah,
32.
Yes.
let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, for a slight recap, obviously YouTube's got all the visuals, but guys that we lost in the first round out of this bracket were Parker Washington, Jonathan Mingo, Hendon Hooker, Tyler Scott, Tucker Kraft, um, Deneric Prince, and a couple of bye weeks.
Bye
So
weeks.
it
Yeah.
was pretty fun doing the first round. You know, there were some guys that were a little bit of flyers, but we're getting kind of into exclusively serious names all of a
Hmm.
sudden,
Yeah.
like really fast. So, you know, without going too crazy with it, I guess I'll just start telling you guys about our first matchup, which
Hmm.
is a number one versus number nine, and it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State, up against Josh Downs, wide receiver out of UNC, North Carolina, and it's tough for me to say this out loud, but Josh is going Downs, man. He
Mm,
loses this matchup.
for
It
sure.
There's a lot to be said of why this could have been close, you know, with Jackson Smith-Njigba missing most of last year, but he
Hmm.
came on the combine. The agility was off the charts, so we got to give him the pass on this one.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and get into Josh Downs. So as I mentioned, you know, North Carolina wide receiver. I'm going to probably get sick of saying this, but Downs is yet another undersized wide receiver coming out in the
Hmm.
2023 class. But he's got plenty of redeeming qualities. So, one thing besides his size that is small is his age. He's only 21 and a half. So, we're counting that as a plus. And I don't know. There's not a lot of like data or comps for a guy his size. So let me just tell you exactly what I'm talking about. So he is 5'9", 171, and he ran a 4.48 40, which is like 71st percentile. He had great bursts at 89th percentile, and the speed score was pretty low. So most guys that are that small are a little bit faster,
Hmm.
and they actually have quite a bit different play style, but that's all right. We'll get into his play style, and you guys can tell me if you think he's got a chance at the next level. But his situation was North Carolina was number two in yards per game in the
Hmm.
ACC, and Josh Downs led the conference in receiving yards per game last year. So that's pretty solid. I mean, it's a productive offense, and he was the most productive player on that offense. So the previous year in 2021, he was number two in the conference behind Jordan Addison. So that's not bad at all. But yeah, so for me, the story is as much about the 2021 season as it is the 2022 season. because the production was extremely consistent. And I think consistent production is probably a great indicator of future success. So a few things I liked about those 2 seasons, in addition to the production, was how he transitioned from Sam Howell to Drake May. So if you go between 2 quarterbacks without losing a step, it kind of makes you look like more of a productive standalone player. And his game was all about solid catches over the middle. So that's pretty much what it was all about. So I keep talking about this 2021 season. Let me tell you a little more details. He had over 1,300 receiving yards that year. And then last year it was over 1,000. And there's 19 total touchdowns over the 2 years. But a couple of things that improved between those 2 years is his drops. He went from 10 drops in 2021 to only 3 last year. So, tightening up his game, even though the numbers went down, it was still pretty productive. 2 fewer games last year. But the guy's got incredible skills at timing the catch. Like, he's a slot receiver pretty much exclusively, but he does have some deep catches. And I really like watching his deep catches because he has like the signature move, which is like a twisting jump catch where he kind of like turns around and faces, back towards the line of scrimmage where the ball's coming from, and then like times a jump catch. And it's just kind of crazy how consistently he was able to time it perfectly to like do a quick 360 almost and get back upfield. Didn't always lead to yards after the catch, but I just really thought it was a fun thing to watch because he is only 5'9", so he's having to jump to get the ball. And yeah, it was pretty impressive to see. So I don't know, man. I was going to say he's got a lot of like good speed, play speed. Like the 40 didn't come out that hot, but if you watch the change of directions and the clean footwork and just like the speed at which he executes his routes, it's a lot faster than the 40 gave him credit for. So I don't know. I think he's got pretty good potential to make his game work at the next level. Really good at the catch point, and he never gives up on plays. Like he's always moving on the field, creating future opportunities, kind of bailing his quarterback out. And so if you combine that with his pretty stellar route running and subtle moves at the line of scrimmage, I don't know, man. I think he's got what it takes to get it at the next level. But his football IQ is pretty solid. Knows where the boundaries are. He's always like running back towards the line of scrimmage when quarterback's in trouble. Just the kind of guy that really looks like a solid ass guy out there. So I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic that a slot only role is going to be waiting for him at the next level, and he could be able to prove himself.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he will. I think he fits perfectly into that role. I mean, slot receivers are kind of getting a little bigger these days. And, like you said at the top, he's on the smaller end, like a lot of the receivers in this class. So that like tiny catch radius doesn't really help him. But he's great at getting open, just like you're saying. Like he makes these subtle moves that just give him a lot of space. And he's great at catching the ball and high pointing it, even despite his stature. Interesting. Like I wanted to comment on the 3 drops last season. That was a huge improvement and was really strong. I did want to point out I was surprised. He only had 4 yards after the catch per reception, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's not very high for him. A much more elusive guy than I would have put like a number on that for.
Yeah, it's like the elusivity is during before he gets the ball, you know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of just goes immediately down once he gets the ball. But I mean, it can still work, and I think he will find a slot role. It's going to depend where he lands as far as like how hyped I am for fantasy in that slot role. But we'll see. But let's move on. I don't want to drag it out too very much long. So we'll go to our next matchup. It's of 2 running backs. We got Tank Bigsby out of Auburn, and then we have DeWayne McBride out of UAB. And I think I'm picking the small school over the big school guy here. I think it's McBride over Bigsby.
Yeah, man. I like that. I mean, it's hard to argue with what McBride was doing.
Yeah, he looks great. So we'll get into Tank Bigsby a little bit. 6 foot, 210 pounds. So I like that. That's a really good size, 21 and a half years old. So that's also good, fairly young for the running back. 40 time wasn't amazing, 4.56, not terrible, 60th percentile for that, 54th percentile for speed score, 30th for burst score. So pretty good numbers, not amazing numbers. Definitely want to see that burst score higher. He had 970 yards last season with 10 touchdowns. And that's kind of like Bigsby's, I don't know, like superpower or like go-to staple is that like he's just had 3 solid, steady years of production, career low, 834 yards and 25 total rushing TDs over 3 seasons at Auburn. So like he's just consistently producing. He's got a solid shake, and his ability to break tackle is a little surprising. 61 forced missed tackles and 156 since 2020, which led all running backs in the SEC. Not who I would have picked to be leading in that category. Also had a 4.2 yards per contact after attempt, which was 13 in the nation, and led them to getting 740 yards after after contact, which he only had 970 yards, so 230 is all he got without contact coming at him. He hits the line hard. He has a great burst, and like he didn't really show that at the combine, that burst, but when you watch the film, he punches through those holes really, really nicely, and I enjoy watching him. He does have a few negatives though. Mostly it's just that he doesn't have like a wow attribute. It's just kind of all good. Like he's got average vision, he's got good speed, he's got good burst, solid production, but not superstar production. So his career low was only 834 yards, but his career high was only 1104. So that's still great, but it's not like that superstar level, like 1,400 yards that you want to see. His also game to game consistency is a little lacking as far as especially when you put the juxtaposition of his season long consistency. It doesn't really line up. He had 8 games last season where he was under 100 yards, and he had 4 of those games he was under 50. So just kind of like up and down, and then he would absolutely take off on people. He's a strong natural runner with truly good instincts. I just don't know that he has like any game-changing skills that make him like crazy dangerous. Some of his most exciting plays are like these outside runs. He had 68 attempts outside the tackles for 349 yards. Those were both high for his like attempts and yardage in a specific spot, like as compared to the A through C gaps on the line. So like he's taking a lot of that stuff outside, but with a 4.5 40 time, is that translating to the NFL? You know, like when linebackers are running 4.4s, are you really going to be bouncing out 300 and something yards on the outside? I'm not sure. Like you could, but speaking on that 40 time, and this is something you got to love about Tank Bigsby, great work ethic. Apparently, he was really upset about his 40 time, so he canceled all of his NFL visits after it so that he could work on improving that time for Auburn's Pro Day. And he ran a 4.45 unofficial 40 time at the Pro Day, so he got a full second. Now, obviously, unofficial, it's not the combine, so we'll see how much that impacts his draft stock. But he went out there, tried to prove that he was a little bit faster, and, you know, he may have done just that. The only other worry that I really have for him is he's like a consistent producer in college, but I worry about that ceiling. He becomes more average against big-name teams. Of the 8 games that he was under 100 yards, 4 of those teams finished in the top 25. Georgia, Mississippi State, Penn State, and Alabama. And those were the only 4 teams in the top 25 that Auburn played this season. So all 4 times, good teams kept Tank Bigsby kind of locked down. That being said, I think he can absolutely take over a game. I know Ole Miss and Texas A&M are very happy he's going to be gone because he absolutely gouged them on the ground when he played for them. or played against them, like 179 yards and 2 touchdowns against Ole Miss, and went off for like 130 against Texas A&M. So he's got playmaking ability. I'm just not sure that he like has that RB1 perennial potential. Like he may squeeze 1 or 2 seasons where he's a top 12 RB if he's like on the right roster, but I see him much more of as like a fly in, plug and play guy that like is a good depth value piece to your roster.
Yeah, I can see that, man. I don't know what it is about him. I think I just something about his build. He looks like too tall to be that thin.
Yeah.
He's like he doesn't have like the power that I'm looking
hmm
for, or he has the speed, but not all the time. And
hmm
and I'm like, damn. For some reason, I've just been a little skeptical of him, but that's all right, man.
Yeah.
I'm wrong all the time. I don't even do this for a living. I just do this for fun. So could be wrong yet again. But I'm getting shades of some of my next conversation from what you're saying. So I'll get on to my next matchup.
All
And
right.
we got Sean Tucker, running back Syracuse, against Jahmyr Gibbs, running back
Mm.
for Georgia.
Yep.
So here we
Or
go.
no,
That's all
Alabama.
right. Alabama. Yep. My bad. I knew I felt wrong.
It's all
Anyway,
good.
yeah, he transferred in there as Georgia Tech before, right? So
Mm,
that's
don't get me
getting
lying.
okay. Well, that's I think it's true. So that got me all confused. Anyway, that's the number 7 for Tucker and number 2 for Gibbs. So Gibbs is running away with this one. Like
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
I feel bad for Sean
Boo.
Tucker on this one.
Orange.
Yeah, we're going for the orange. We like it orange. So Sean Tucker, here you go. He's 21 and a half about, and he's 5'9", 207. And that's pretty good, man. That's a dense running back. So,
hmm
so I'm in it. We didn't get the combine workout metrics, so we're kind of left to decide how we feel about his speed and his strength through observation and game film, which I guess is kind of like how we should be doing it anyway. So that's fun. Come what may, it's up to your own interpretation at this point. But he played for the Syracuse, the Orange Men. And that was a team that was 8th in the ACC for yards per game last year, while Sean Tucker was 2nd in rushing and amongst all ACC players. So that's pretty good. He represented a third of the team's total production, with 1,060 yards on the ground and 254 receiving, with 13 total touchdowns. So that's a pretty good little season, but it was actually a regression from his 2021 year. So it's kind of weird to see someone step back. He broke the school record for single season rushing yards with 1,496 the previous year. And it was easy to see how he did it, right? Because he shines in like one-on-one situations in the open field, when he has a speed built up. That is, he's got this ability to kind of like drop his momentum and wiggle a little bit to get a guy to miss in open field. It's pretty cool. He had a run against Clemson in 2021, and it's
hmm
like the coolest highlight video because they got the rubber pellets in the turf.
hmm
So he like slows down and does a move, and like the pellets shoot up, and the guy like runs right past him on a fake out, and then he doesn't score because he doesn't have runaway speed, but he had a pretty good run that play. So that was really fun to check it out. But I got to tell you, man, I was really into this guy because we did our box score boomers in 2021, and he produced like 900-yard seasons out of 12, or 900-yard games out of
hmm
12 games. So we were all over him, but it really seems like his production comes when he's untouched. When he gets started behind the line of scrimmage, he kind of stops and shuffles his feet in a way that loses his momentum, and he doesn't really have the burst to break through contact at the line when he does that, and you
hmm
see it a little too often. So damn, man, I've been pumped on this guy, and I go to the film and I'm like, damn, he's making me second guess it a little bit. But he's fast, not out of the gate, but he's got the ability to build it up downfield, which the only concern with that is beating guys to the edge. he didn't always do that on his college film. So you kind of wonder at the next level if that's going to be a bit of an issue. But when he gets a clean hole, or if he does beat the defense to the edge, he's got great ability to break tackles and juke guys, as I've been kind of saying. So, man, I really like that he had 36 catches this past year. That's an upgrade from the 2021 season. So he is a pretty well-rounded guy. I like his efficiency as a runner. Like, he doesn't really waste too much time going east or west. He's always pushing upfield when he's making any of his cuts. So, yeah, I don't know. Catches passes in stride and can read defense pretty well to find a good little path. But he does hesitate a little bit. I like it, but it's kind of a tale of two Tuckers, man. Like, his 2021 year was cool, but this past year, he had 5 games where his yards per carry were under 4 yards per carry. And these were in games against Purdue, Virginia, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Pittsburgh, and Florida State. Not the Clemson game, but it's like the competition level hindered him, right? He had great games against weaker teams, but then you get a solid college up against him, and it kind of showed in his ability to be successful. So the lack of consistency this last year really kind of made me a little bit nervous. You combine that with kind of like really kind of crappy pass protection and the lack of power through the hole, and like I said, the slowness and hesitation. It's really just like you watch his highlights and you get excited. You watch a full game film and you're like, shit, I don't know. So if he can be the 2021 guy, if he can be consistent at the next level, he could be a sleeper stud. But I don't really see that being necessarily the case. But I don't know. Color me disappointed.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. I wasn't as sold on Tucker as a lot of people were. I think just like between him and like Tank Bigsby, the difference is at least Sean Tucker has the speed, so he has like one thing that he's really, really good at, which is his speed. But then I like same thing with Tank Bigsby. I don't think he has the like complementary skills to get me like super excited about him as a viable, consistent fantasy asset. Because it's really like the speed kills you and everything else kind of like just nickel and dimes you here and there. And then he like you said, the highlights are amazing, full game tape. It's all right. Like, it's not terrible. He could definitely be a productive player in the NFL. I'm just, especially not with like where he's still going. Like, I just feel like there are other running backs I would want more than Sean Tucker, personally.
Yeah, we've kind of gone back and forth about this, the depth of this class, and like the mediocre guys. Like, one of them is going to be good, but not all 8 of them, you know?
Yeah, they can't be. Like, all those mid-tier guys, they're not all going to pop. And I think you got to pick. We got to put flags down, and mine is Evan. There you go. All right. So let's get to our last matchup here in the orange bracket. We got a tight end versus a quarterback matchup. Those are always fun. Tight end Darnell Washington out of Georgia versus Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. And call me crazy, I think I want to move on the tight end and move on Darnell Washington.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. Both guys have like potential. So I'll let you get into it, but I agree.
Yeah.
Washington.
They definitely both have potential. I mean, Will Levis, 6'4", 229 pounds out of Kentucky, almost 24 years old. Didn't do a lot of the drills, but he did have an 87th percentile burst score. Pretty fun. 2,400 yards passing this past season, 65% completion percentage, 19 touchdowns against 10 interceptions. And then I just throw it out there because it's fun. Negative 103 rushing yards on the year.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like Will Levis is a guy that you either like him a lot or you don't see it. And I'm going to be completely upfront and honest, and I don't see it. I don't see what the I don't see the career that everybody else sees Will Levis possibly having. Doesn't mean he doesn't have extremely valuable traits and extremely high potential. He's a big dude, absolutely zero fear from him. He will rip the ball into these tight little windows and seems completely unaffected by pressure, which are huge upsides in his cap. Like it's kind of impressive. He, in terms of willingness to stand in the pocket and take a hit, he's up there with like anybody else. Does not care about that, and that is awesome. Unfortunately, it's just the arm is so inconsistent. Like it's so you get a lot of power and there's zero fear, which is awesome. That's great for a rookie quarterback, but he also like has a tendency to try to force these passes into tight windows, and this pass comes out like a duck and it gets intercepted. 2 times I'm watching his tape against Georgia and Miami of Ohio, and like they're driving, they're moving down the field, and then he just throws an absolute terrible ball that gets picked off in the red zone and completely changes the game for him. It's things like that. It's like, okay, fine, you want to throw it into tight windows, you got to be able to laser that thing in there every single time, and he doesn't do that. But he's got really good pocket presence. He can move, he can throw on the move, which is nice, which is also interesting given the like inconsistency of his accuracy. He still can make good throws on the move, and he's hard to take down, man. He's a big, strong dude. He is absolutely fucking jacked. I think he's getting even bigger for some reason. Like right now, like he is ripped. And like just to kind of put it in perspective, 22 of 23 on short yardage QB sneaks for his career throughout college. Like ain't nobody stopping him if he's trying to get like a couple yards because he's just strong and he can push through it. He's a traits projection to me. And if he can land on a team kind of like, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Jordan Love, but like similar to a Jordan Love where he can, maybe not 3 years, that's a long time, but if he can land on a team where he can sit behind somebody and have a coach like coach him up, I'd be a lot more comfortable with him. But to me, if he gets in this, like you see it all the time, the Zach Wilson scenario, the Jared Goff scenario where these guys are dropped on these teams and like expected to just immediately be good, it doesn't work all the time. In fact, it works less often. It doesn't work more often than it works. Obviously Jared Goff kind of had some good years with the Rams, so maybe not the best example, but I just see if Levis ends up as the 3rd overall pick, like some people think, and it's like some team comes up to grab him and immediately starts him, I'm fairly skeptical, and I'm basically going to let everybody else take that ride before I take it.
Wow. My notes say the guy stays home and does the job, kind of into him. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as the best day one starter out of this quarterback class.
There you go. See, exactly like I said. You either like him a lot or you don't see it.
You know, I don't love him, but he just seemed like a quarterback. There's nothing weird. There's no like, he's a quarterback and this. It's like the dude just fucking throws the ball. You're right. He's inconsistent, not really the safest passes all the time, but he stands in the pocket and he delivers a rocket, man. Like,
100%.
I like that.
Just make that shit work, man. Give him one of the top 32 NFL coaches, and
I don't want to take this because it wasn't my idea. I heard it, but I don't remember who I heard it from. You know, I honestly, somebody like Minnesota. If Minnesota could find a way to grab Will Levis, let him sit behind Kirk, have Kevin O'Connell teach that kid up, I'd be really into him if he landed somewhere like that. If
that's I just mock draft.
Is it? Okay. So then, I got it off a bunch of people. So I like that. I like it more than the Hendon Hooker to Minnesota in the first round that I saw.
Oh yeah.
We've already had Kellen Mond. It's the same thing.
Hooker's going to Las Vegas, dude, with the rest of them.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Levis definitely has a ton of potential, and I also have been famously kind of bad at evaluating quarterbacks. So I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, but that's how I feel, and I'm moving on Darnell Washington, and I think you were with me at least as far as that goes. So
absolutely.
So, but yeah, I think that's it for the orange bracket this episode,
Man.
right?
Yes.
All we did was
sir.
eliminate the one orange guy.
Yeah, what the heck, man? So on to the Sweet 16. We got Jaxon, Smith-Njigba, and versus DeWayne McBride. The upset. And then Darnell Washington versus Jahmyr Gibbs.
Upset. I don't know. Darnell Washington.
yeah,
was
you
an
were.
upset.
It was. I just wanted to make it weird for a second.
Well, join us next week when we go through the next color.
Let's do it.
I'm just going to cut it right there. Join us next week. Next cut. Also, I think we need to make some t-shirts with a picture of Daniel with the headset on. And it just says stand in the pocket.
That's good.
See y'all Sunday.
Oh yeah, be there or be.